Anybody out there want to go to heaven? I don't know about you. I got heaven in view. Anybody got heaven in view? Well, I need to come on and put your hands together with us for a little while. Come on, put your hands together like this. Fellas, help me say it. Got heaven in my view. I don't have the time to wait on you. It takes everything I can for tell straight. I gotta keep on stepping and keep on stepping. Oh yeah. I got heaven. Oh yeah. In my view. I don't have the time to wait on you. It takes everything I can for tell straight. I gotta keep on stepping and keep on stepping. Oh yeah. Listen here. I was talking to a friend of mine. One of them that complains all the time. He was trying to get me to live my life and down. I began to walk away. Then I had to scream and shout. I don't have the time to wait on you. It takes everything I can do, yeah. Straight. I gotta keep on stepping and keep on stepping and stepping. Listen here. I'm determined to make heaven my last stop. Some of my bad friends, sorry I got to cut you off. I got to rock. There's a crown and a robe I gotta wear. I gotta keep on stepping till I make it there. Now come on and groove with us. Come on. I don't have the time. Yeah. It takes everything I can do. Yeah. Straight. I gotta keep on stepping, gotta keep on stepping and stepping. I wanna go. I wanna go to bed. Anybody out there wanna go? I wanna go to bed. Help me say, I wanna go to bed. Help me say, I got something I want to tell you young people out there. Listen here. A lot of you young people looking for love in all the wrong places. When your heart gets broken, you go around with the crooked face. Before you met this person, you used to do the ways in school. Now you're failing all of your classes, trying to look so cool. You got these expensive designer clothes, trying to compete. You have to make the choice whether you're gonna look to have food to eat. Some people may bring you down, sometimes they affect your health. Just look them in the eye and cut them off. Tell them you can do bad by yourself. Some of you may have a heart with your brother, sister, and an apology is due. Just take time out and remember my friend. Mama gave them so quiet in you. Yeah. I wanna go to heaven. I wanna go. I wanna go. If you wanna go to heaven, let me hear you say, I wanna go. I wanna go to heaven. I wanna go. I wanna go to heaven. Come on, come in here and say, I wanna go. I wanna go to
All right, y'all. We're gonna give Brother Ray a couple more seconds to get on. Just bear with us for a little minute. Uh, this is an interview that is gonna be really, really, really good. Trust me when I tell you. Uh, I am excited to talk to this young man. It's long overdue, and he deserves his flowers as well. So we are going to make sure he gets them. Uh, so just give us a couple of more minutes. Bear with us. Uh, and we coming. As of right now, I'm about to cue up another song. Just give me a second. But we are gonna cue this up. We'll be right back after these messages.
How much they know Jesus is your friend? If you know you got a friend in Jesus, come on, put your hands together. My life seems so hard at times. When I need a friend, someone who will be right there. That will always be around. Never let me down. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is my friend. I can tell the world. I can tell the world. Jesus is my friend. I can tell the world that Jesus is. Ooh, Jesus, my friend. Jesus is. I got another verse right there. So many times I felt so all alone. I didn't have no God on my side. Then Jesus came down and he spoke to me and said, I'll never leave your side. I'll always be your God. Jesus is mine. Jesus is mine. I can tell the world. I can tell the world. Jesus is. Jesus is my friend. I got to tell the world. I got to tell the boys and girls that Jesus is my friend. I can tell the world. If you know you got about Jesus. Come on, give the Lord a wave. Jesus. Come on all over the building. I can tell the world going through about Jesus. Don't worry, just remember that you always got a friend in Jesus. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can tell the world. I can tell the world. Jesus is my Jesus. Oh yeah. Jesus is Jesus. My friend.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are about to bring up this young man, and I want y'all to give him a great, 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 great big hand. Coming to the stage, none other than Mr. Ray Braswell Jr. Give him a great big hand. Great big hand. Come on, come on, come on. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Mr. Braswell,
What's happening, Richard Brown?
what's going on, man?
I'm good, man. You said come up to the stage, man. I see your house in the background with a grand piano in the back.
Man, I need you to come check it out for me. Make sure it's in tune.
Well, it should be in tune before I get there.
Man, how you making it today?
Man, it's all is well, man. Just snowed in.
Oh man. Hey, I hope you got everything you need, all your groceries and all that.
Well, yeah, the kids don't eat them all up.
All right, so we ain't gonna hold you long. We let's get right on into it. What was Lil Ray doing as a little bitty boy?
Say that again. I think your phone is something's going on. You blacked out on me a little bit.
Okay. I was saying, so what was Lil Ray Braswell doing as a little boy? Like where you from and all that? Give us that.
Oh, I'm from the big city of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and up here with all the Barnes family, the Luther Barnes, the late great Bishop F.C. Barnes, and so as a little boy, I always wanted to be a professional musician and singer, and own a recording studio. That was my dream as a little kid. When I started, before I was playing anything, my mother used to have a group with her sisters called the Wooten Sisters, and she never could leave me at home because I would always ask could I go with her. And so just growing up seeing her sing and do what she did just always made me want to do it, but do it on a professional level. So as a kid, that was my dream. I mean, I started from beating on furniture. The furniture was my drums, the lampshades was my cymbals, and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's what I did. I always dreamed of doing this as a little kid.
Okay. So what all instruments do you play?
Well, I try to play try to play little keyboard and bass guitar and little drum. So I'm still working on. I'm trying to be great.
Hey, you doing it. Hey, you definitely doing it. So when did you first discover you had like a love for music? Was it as a young boy?
Yeah, cause I always my dad he had the at first, of course, I don't know, that may be too back in the day for you, but my dad had he had an 8-track player in the car, and then from there he had the vinyl, which back then we called it a record player, and so every morning he used to get up early in the morning and uh he used to play the play music. So as a kid, I used to get up with him and listen to the records with him. And for some reason he will always have his microphone. I guess it's the bootleg karaoke machine. So he used to have his microphone plugged up, and he used to sing while he's playing the music. And while he's singing and playing the music, I used to be trying to play the drums. So as a kid, I always, that was our routine. Getting up and that kind of like made me passionate to just do music and sing because I always just loved music. And then when I would ride my mom, she would be playing the radio, and I would always be either playing the drums with my mouth or either humming the bass. Um, and that back at that time, I wasn't even thinking about playing the keyboard, but it was just, from drums and bass, that's what it was.
Wow. Um, so what sparked your interest in learning keyboard?
Well, it's funny you ask, because well, at the church that I used to play for, my home church, um,
I started playing the drums uh, back at the church in 86, 1986. And and when I would play, my cousin, he was the bass player for the church, and he would have a, have a, he would always work swing shift. So a lot of times he couldn't be there playing the bass. And so when um, when the pastor's son started in the ministry, he was actually the organ player and a minister of music at the church. So this one particular time, it was a revival night, and of course, the bass player wasn't there. So at that time, I learned how to play bass on keyboard. And this particular night, his son had to leave.
Mm.
So when he left, that left me up there by myself. And that particular night, I end up just started working my right hand to play chords. And I mean, believe it or not, I learned two chords that night. And the preacher was preaching. I had them two raggedy chords, and I was just working the mess out of them. And it went from there. And from that time, I just kind of started learning how to um play the keyboard. And I started playing on a Roland Juno
Mm.
keyboard. And it was one of the best keyboards back in the day, but they had some crazy sounds. But that's what I started on back then, and it just went from there.
Wow. So you've been a rolling man a long time.
Oh yeah, I guess that's what made me fall in love with rolling keyboards, and because I started on the Juno. But yeah, yeah, I'm a rolling guy.
Mm. Okay. So let's skip around a little bit. Who was one of the first groups you ever had a chance to play for?
You talking about major?
Yeah, yeah, let's do that.
Well, believe it or not, so my home pastor, his name was Reverend Dr. Thomas L. Walker. A lot of people know him by One Day at a Time. And back then, there was a song out called Chosen. It was by an artist called Calvin. Um, oh my God, I can't think of his name. Um, but anyway, it was he had a hit song called Chosen, and on that show, it was, believe it or not, it was Pop Staples and the Staple Singers and the Barrett sisters, and Pastor Walker, he was there with, at the time, TLW Ensemble, and that was when One Day at a Time was still hot. It been out for a long time. Um, but his version was really hot and popular. I never forget, it was in Raleigh at the Civic Center, and that day, I remember just like it was yesterday. Um, Pop Staples, they didn't have a drummer, and I was I can't I think I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and he asked me, because Pastor Walker, he went on first singing One Day at a Time. So after it was over, um, they were up next, and he asked me to sit in on drums. I was a little kid, and that was the probably the first major artist that I've ever played for, and
Wow.
it was an experience because me being a kid, I wasn't really in tune um of the staple singers until after that day. I started researching, like, wow, I just sat in with them, you know, and I didn't make any money because I was just happy to be playing.
Right.
But as I can recall, that was one of the first major artists that I've played for. And it just went from there. Like, I just had so many different opportunities to to play for so many different professional artists, and now I sit back and think about it, and I was just blessed to be able to have those kind of opportunities.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, so when did you get your first chance to start traveling?
Actually, Major, I got my first shot at traveling, my opportunity traveling back in soon as I graduated high school. That was 1997. Um, soon as I graduated high school, that was a friend of mine's. He was from Wilson at the time. His name is Maurice Morgan. At the time, he was on tour. A lot of people know Maurice. He came from the Volunteers, Willie Neal Johnson, New Keynotes. Just about um, every quartet group he played for, and and at that time he was playing for Charles Johnson and the Revivers, and that was at that time it was Charles Johnson, Daryl Richmond. He was the bass player for uh the Angelic Gospel Singers with Babe, and it was Tracy Pierce. A lot of people know Tracy from Doc McKenzie. He was playing bass, and Maurice was playing guitar. And soon as I graduated from high school, at the time, the keyboard player at the time, he had quit, and Maurice called me. He said, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I said, "Nothing, man. I just graduated high school, this and that and the third." And he said, "Man, you want to audition for a job playing keyboard?" And I said, "Yeah." So I never forget. We went to Durham on that on a let me see, it probably was a Tuesday. Yeah, it was a Tuesday. Went to Durham. I auditioned. Um, and Charles Johnson told Maurice. He said, "Man, man, I like how that guy can play, man. I look at his shoes, man. I could tell he could play, and he could sing too." And so, man, that Friday night, that Thursday, Friday, I was back in Durham, and I went on my first tour for 22 days straight. Never been away from home that long, and that was my first tour. That was in '97. So before I was with Keith, I was with Charles Johnson singing Southern gospel, and for the Revivers. Yep.
Wow. Is any of that music available like the stream, or is it on YouTube or anything?
Say it again. Say it again, man. Your Wi-Fi, man. You must got it from Kmart or somewhere, man.
I said, is any of his music available like on YouTube, iTunes, anything or that you know
Yeah,
of?
yeah. All of his music is available on the different streaming sites, and a lot of people probably don't remember Charles Johnson. He was one of the Nightingales back in the day, and back in the '60s and stuff. And he's one of the he was a legend. Still is a legend. He wrote a lot of great songs, and yep. So, but his music is available. I wasn't on any of his recordings because, I was just starting. But definitely, he has a lot of music out there. I mean, and here again, those opportunities that I was blessed to have. From the Crab family, Jason Crab, and the Bill Gaithers, all of that. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of cathedrals. I mean, the Kingsmen, Karen Peck and River. It's just Quentin Mills. It's just a lot of people that I was introduced to and met as a young kid at an early age, and now all of those people are they're like so awesome. Like Jason Crab, he's one of the hottest Christian artists out here, and but like I say, man, it's just opportunities. But yes, back to your question, his music is still available.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna have to because I had never really heard of him like that, but I'm eager to learn and listen. See what he got going.
Oh yeah, his music, and one thing that Charles taught me is writing great music, and even in that genre of Southern gospel, those people, they wasn't all into how many breaks and how much music you play, but they was really into the lyrics of the songs, because and Charles always taught me that when you write a song, make sure that it makes sense, not just feeling good, but make sure it makes sense, because our culture, we have a lot of music, but when you listen to the a lot of good music, but when you listen to the lyrics of it, sometimes they don't make sense. But just because it feel good, we just jump to it.
Right, right. So how the famous Ray Braswell sound? How did you like? How did where did that come from? What was your influence? And break that down if you can.
Well, I always listen, of course, listening to records, my ear is trained that before I listen to the words and arrangement of the song is always listen to the quality of it. And and there are different engineers and records that I just love listening to and the sound of it. One of my biggest engineers that I love to listen to, his name is Mr. Wolf Stevenson. A lot of people, he was the head, well, he is still is the head engineer at Malaco Records. It's just different things that that he has taught me about how to generate sounds that he created and stuff with acoustic drums, snare, and Malco was known for their piano and the snare. It's like when you hear those instruments, records, you know exactly where it come from. It come from Malco.
Right.
And so I would jump to say that I've always wanted to have my own sound and be identified with my own specific sound. So whenever someone hears any record that I've done, they can identify with, not just saying, I'm trying to, you know, you know, be all of that, but I just wanted to be recognized for me, for my own sound. So I mean, the choice of sounds and things that I like, it's just what I love and what works for me. So I just always wanted to be identified and say, hey, that's Ray, you know. But hey, that's it, man.
And your sound is like it's one of a kind. Like anytime somebody plays a record of yours, it's like your fingerprint. You already know you from the time you hear that snare, like you said, the piano, the horns, organ, like all that. It's just anybody with a good ear can tell that that's you. That's your production.
Wow. Well, believe it or not, man, it's some people, man, they hear records and they'll call me and they say, Ray, did you do this? Like, no, but it would be somebody that's using the choice of sounds that I like to use.
Right.
But and I don't get offended by that because, it kind of makes me feel good to know that someone, they listen to what I do and they're influenced by it. So hey, I don't get mad about it. And I look at it from another angle. I love it.
Right. Because I mean, I show every time I go on stage, I have to have that box.
Oh man, look that man. Man, that box is something special, man. When I first started playing, especially when I started playing with Keith, um, it was before we hired Tyrone. It was like a three-piece band for years, and it was a three-piece band for years, and it's like what could I do to sound big with less equipment?
Mm,
And I never forget, I was one of my friends back at home. He was an organ player, and at that time, he played organ. He didn't have a B3; he had a portable organ, and he had a volume pedal. And when he bought that volume pedal out, and I'm like, man, let me see if that would work for your organ. That would work for my keyboard. So I started getting little cheap volume pedals that would probably last me like a couple of months and it would tear up. So then, of course, guitar players, they came out and they would have volume pedals because they couldn't make the guitar swell like
hmm.
that. So they would have these volume pedals. So I would ask guitar players like Sherrod Barnes and great guitar players that I like to listen to. I would ask them, man, what kind of pedal is that? And they say, man, it's just a regular Ernie Ball volume pedal. And So I said, let me see how I can do this thing. So I end up plugging that thing up to my keyboard, and I said, okay, well if I could use this for my keyboard, let me get something else that can make me sound big. Because back then you can layer the keyboards, but a lot of people wasn't, you know,
Right.
they didn't, they weren't into that. They have four and five keyboards like the late great Benny Hill. He used to play with about four or five different keyboards at one time. But it worked for him, and he would, man, he was working the mess out of all them keyboards from playing bass on there and everything. But I'm like, I can't carry all these keyboards
Right.
on no show.
Right.
I mean, that's just too much. I already don't like carrying equipment, period. But I was like, so what can I get to be to be big but not having a bunch of equipment? So
Mm.
man, I just said, well, let me just get a module and see how this can work. So man, I just got the module and found me some good horns on my keyboard, and I made it work, man. So really, man, that's just been my thing, man. That I could be big, have a big sound with less equipment. So I used to grab that, you know. I mean, I got at least about, well, you've been to the studio. I have volume pedals everywhere in the studio,
Right.
you know, and but it's just, I just made it work and just go from there. I remember Bobby Jones. Keith always traveled with a live band. That was before he was in the doing the tracks, the soundtrack. So we did Bobby Jones. They had all these choir people up there, and some people had tracks, and they would have a full band. I mean, organ, piano, whole 9 yards. Man, when we get up there with our little 3-piece band, you know, I'd be like, hey, I need 2 lines at the time. So, give me 2 lines and we plug this module up and my keyboard. And man, I never forget. Dr. Bobby Jones was like, he's like, man, how do you get all those sounds out of that little keyboard? And at the time, I had like a little 61 key JV, what it XP30 or
Mm.
whatever, and man, I would tell them, man, Keith would tell him, man, I need that keyboard all over this place, and man, they used to have me all up in there, man, and I made sure them horns be in there singing, man, you know. But man, I'm just grateful to be able to have come up with that to work for me, and I'm sure there are other people that kind of found out the technique, but man, it's all good. Hey, so it works for me, man. So that's how I do what I do.
Right. And like I said, I use it and stuff too, but it ain't nothing like the the originator of it. And I mean, you be doing some stuff.
Man,
I
look,
still piano, man. I
man,
just
you do your thing.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Okay,
Yeah.
so Keith Wonderboy Johnson and the Spiritual Voices. How did you get with that organization?
Man, man, Keith used to come to Rocky Mount all the time, and so this particular time, it was in Greenville, North Carolina. And it was matter of fact, it was Keith. At the time, it was Keith Hezzy and Spanky. Um, as the spiritual voices, and we did a show at in Greenville. It was at Greenville Commons. It was outside, and this was before Dietrich Haddon really got popular. And actually his record "This Is My Story" had just came out, and so he was on the show. And at that time, I had a little local group, and they was based from out of Greenville called Brother to Brother, and we was on the show. And at the time, I was playing for Brother to Brother, and it was just me and a drummer and a guitar player. So I used to do the whole Benny Hill thing, playing bass on keyboard, this, that, third. And so that day, Keith had asked me would I play keyboard for him, and I said sure. And that time, between Keith and Spanky, they were switching up playing the drums. Keith would sing, he'd do his little high behind the mountain. And after that, Spanky would get off the drums, Keith would play the drives, and
Wow.
they were
I
just
never knew that.
switching back and forth. Yeah, man, they were switching back and forth, man. It was fun. It's like they was playing musical chairs, and so from that time, you know, whenever Keith would come through North Carolina and or either sing South, he would always ask me to come and play. And he said, "Well, I'm just going to use you on all the big shows, this, that, and the third." And I said, "Cool." So, after that time, man, it was like from there, it was like off and on playing, and then, um, and in fact, Spanky, he was listening to some of my tracks that I was doing, I had did on the 4 track, and he was going crazy. But then after that, um, every time they would come through, I would play. I would be playing, and I think at the time someone had quit. Um, Someone had quit. I think it was at the time Keith had a young guy named John playing the bass, and it was John Merritt. Let me see, John, Hezzy, and Dewan. John had quit. When John quit, Keith had asked me, did I want to play um keyboard? Would I play full time keyboard? And I was like, sure, you know. And from that point on, man, it went from there. Then I think after that we did the let me see, I think we did tribute to the Quartet Legends, me and Spanky. And then but before then we had did that video in Creedmoor, North Carolina, that I thought was horrible. Um and because I never had a rehearsal with them for any of the recordings, but we did live in North Carolina at Creedmoor, and then from that point on, man, it was like I was in, you know, and we just went from there, and that's where history took place.
Wow. I know he would always tell me about what video was that? Uh, the collection video. I know he said y'all ran into a issue with that recording as far as like the tape or something running out.
Yeah, so we did that at the time, man. The church that we recorded at, that was a collection video. So the church at the time, that was it was called the River.
Mm.
That was in and
You froze
so
up on
yeah.
us.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so we did that in Raleigh at the River. Pastor Bishop Joby and Brady was the pastors. And I actually was a member of the church at that time, and we did the recording, and they have never did any live sessions there to that capacity. So what happened was, man, the guy who was engineered the session from the church, you know, we went through the whole recording, the first and the second half, and he didn't tell me not at one time that he wasn't recording any audio. So,
Wow.
man, from that point, man, only thing he recorded was a DAT back in the day. Back in the day, we had to record to it was called a digital audio tape. It was a DAT master, it's like it's just like a giant VHS tape or whatever. Um, and he recorded that. So with that video, man, I had to end up playing every instrument over, and
Mm.
um, and from drums and bass and keyboard, um, and guitar, because Tyrone had to play his guitar over. So I had to play every instrument over, and just luckily the vocals was decent enough for me to, make it all work. And but from that point, man, I had to. Keith was like, I don't know what you can do to it, but son, I need you to make this work. And so Keith gave me like a week, and you know, and Keith gave me like a week, man, and I put it together. I had to think on it and put it together. So, but yeah, that collection video, it was something special. So, as you was playing it a few minutes ago, man, I just started thinking about how I had to put that together, and but I'm just grateful to be able to, to have the thought process worked out that I could, you know, get it to what it was, because people never knew what I went through to get it to what it was or what it is now.
Wow, man. And that was what the video like an hour long, ain't it?
Yep, it was a long video.
Yeah,
They
that
were
was
shouting all up there.
wow.
Yeah,
Man. So what was it like
yeah,
being a part of
yeah.
the
But
spiritual voices?
man,
how was that experience?
it was a great experience, man. I appreciate every moment of of that journey, man. Because at that time, we were all in our 20s. I think when we cut Live and Alive, not Live and was it Live and Alive? Yeah, we cut Live and Alive, man. I think I was in my teens. I think I was 18 or 19. And Keith, I think between Keith and Hezzy, they was in their upper 20s. But man, it was a journey, man. I appreciate every moment through the good and the bad. And now that Keith is gone, man, I really appreciate those moments, man, that we had. There was priceless moments, man, that I appreciate, and I always look back on them. I remember, we going to LA, man, and we ain't make no money, and we had to take the money that we made and buy something to eat because it wasn't our main show. And
Mm,
so, man, those times, and that we had of just grinding and really knowing that, hey, your brothers is all you have, so you know how you gonna make it out here when you don't have much. So Keith always says four quarters in a dollar. In that particular time when we ain't make much in California, we definitely put it all together, make sure we all had something to eat. you know
wow.
but it was good, man. The good outweigh the bad, and I appreciate every moment.
So y'all basically had to kind of grow up fast because y'all were hot, young, like
Yeah, you right. We did have to grow up fast because, you know, um, I think at the time I don't even think Keith babies was born. Um, but of course, Hezzy was older. He had little Hezzy, but
mhm,
then I had, my son, and it was like, man, we definitely had to grow up out on the road, because we did blow up like hotcakes. When we did the Be Right record, you know, that took off like wildfire, you know, and then especially when we did the collection video, the collection CD, the tribute CD
mm.
with all the old songs. That took off too. So it was like, man, we had a great run, man, from that point on, man. Especially when we did Center Revival. It was like sometimes we would be gone weeks at a time because our schedule would cause us, you know, not to even be home as much because of where we had to sing to the next week. And sometimes it was all week because we wasn't just doing regular shows. We was doing a lot of church stuff. That's one thing that Keith was good with. He had a lot of good relationships with churches and the pastors. So we was doing it all. We would come in on their Bible study night, and everything, doing concerts and Sunday morning and all that stuff. So it was wide open, man. When back then when we had those records out.
Wow. Um, I want to show you something, and I want to see what's your first thought.
Say it again. Your internet froze up again.
I said I'm gonna show you something, and I want to get your initial reaction and what's your first thought when you see it.
Okay.
When you see that picture, what does that say to you? Like what idea goes through your mind?
Well, that honestly, when I see that cover, I start thinking about how we recorded that record.
Mm.
We recorded that record. I never forget, man. We recorded just about half of that record, man, in a Motel 6 in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Yep. Because we had to sing out that way, and I'm not mistaken, man. Back in the day, man, Rod Parsley had he had an event. They would have a not particular Rod Parsley, but it was an event called Take It to the Bridge that used to have a lot of big artists, from Mary, Kurt Carr, everybody used to be on there. Um, and but this particular time they had it at Rob Parsley's church, and then they had it in at TD Jake's church, Potter's house, and it was called "Take It to the Bridge," and man, with doing those, man, we knew we had to go out there, be out that way in Texas. So what we did, Kerry Douglas at the time, he was like, "Man, y'all need to do a record, man. Y'all need to do a record." And so it was a machine called a Roland VS 1880, and I didn't know how to work it before I got to Texas, but I learned how to work it, and we recorded, like I said, we recorded half of that record in a super what do you call that, Motel 6 um hotel, and and the rest was history, man, with that record. But man, that turned out being one of the greatest records after Live and Alive.
I mean, I still listen to it every day, and I don't skip a song. To me, I this is my favorite record that y'all cut.
Really?
Yep, my favorite one.
Wow.
My
Wow.
favorite song is duh, 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 duh. I don't know. I like all of them. I can't I can't even pinpoint a song. I just love the record.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that I listen to it from time to time, and the first thing that goes in my mind, man, I could have mixed it better, you know. But I mean, hey, it worked, Um,
Right.
it worked, and it was a great record. Still is a great record, and that's just Keith always say timeless music, you know. Uh, and that's what we always wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that whatever we record, man, it's just something that will live forever. And and one thing that Keith didn't do, he didn't lie about that. He didn't lie about that. That's music that's gonna be around forever.
So how would y'all? What was the recording process like? Would y'all start with music first, or the vocals? Like how would y'all go about recording?
Your phone, your internet was cutting up again.
Okay, I was saying like what? How was y'all recording process? Like what would y'all start with first, and then how would you finish a song?
Man, I'm gonna tell you something crazy, man. Keith was very unique with how he recorded. Um and honest with you, when we did Center Revival, Keith did Center Revival with just a click track, and he singing lead vocal, and me playing either the bass or the keyboard. And
Mm,
and half of Keith records, it's like Keith had an imagination, man, that he can go in the studio and sing a song as if everything is in there, and the only thing that he would do is say, "All right, June, I need for you to, put everything else together, man. And but my part is done. So, you know, so he used to come in here and lay a lead vocal, which I thought it was a scratch, but it ended up being like the lead vocal, the final vocal that he would do, and I used to put everything around it and let it work. And out of everybody I ever recorded, there's only one artist now that does the same exact thing when it's in the studio, and that's Alan Pringle. He go in there and sing a song just like Keith. And I tell him all the time, like, man, you and Keith the same way, man. Y'all can go in there, sing a song as if you know everything is around you, and it end up being the vocal take that you can't redo over because it's just a feel and just just how it comes out, but that would be our process all the time. When he have a song, he will go in and do it like that, and I put everything else around it. And when he listen to it, he hearing what's good to be the mix.
Wow. Do you still have like any of the original? Well, I guess they weren't considered files then, like masters or anything from those times.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I usually don't I'm usually good with keeping up with stuff like that. But I have like all of our masters, man, and so I'll leave it at that.
And that's a blessing, man. Because somebody like me, I'm irresponsible. I would have been lost it, damaged. I would have been undid something I had no business doing with it. So that's just
Wow. Wow. Actually one of those songs that we did that Keith did on his he did on his, I can't think of the title of it, but it's like next to the last record that he cut. It had Can't You See got working on there. That song that he cut, that was supposed to go on the Center Revival record, but it didn't make it. Um
I got to listen to it now.
yeah, so what I did was I took his vocal from the Center Revival record, and I kept his vocal, and I just replayed all the music and sung the background over. But you could tell if you listen to it real good, you can tell it was one of Keith's earlier days because his vocal was lighter and his voice was much clearer. But but
Wow,
yeah, I have all this stuff, man.
man. And what you said the name of it is?
It's called Can't You See God Working. Uh it's on the record that because he won the Stella off that record.
Oh, keep pushing.
Was it Keep Pushing?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Because it's two songs that I did on there. I did the song Testify, and I did Can't You See God Working on there.
Gotcha. Yeah, he
Hmm.
actually sang "Testify" live. Yep.
Yeah. He used to sing that all the time. Yep. So those are two songs that I did on that record. Um, and in fact, that was the last. Well, I say he made a Stella off. He won a
Right.
Stella off that record. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, he told me, and I know you can confirm. He told me when y'all did the video, I guess it was the video for the Center Revival one with the black suit.
Mm-hmm.
He said he could not get the words right to God is real. He said y'all had to cut that one over a couple of times. You remember that?
Uh, yeah, oh yeah, I remember that plain as day. Uh, yeah, he every time I would start the intro and he get to his verse, he he would like hold his head down and laugh and like, man, I don't know the words. So he didn't lie. We had to cut that about two or three times over because he kept messing up on the verses. And I think when the last time when he remembered it, like everybody start clapping because he remembered the verse, you know. And I was I was sick as a dog that day. I don't know if I had the flu or what, but and that next day we cut that record, man. We had to go to Bobby. We had to do Bobby Jones in Atlanta. That was when Bobby Jones was on tour with his shows. But yeah,
Mm.
Keith he told the truth on that one because he yeah he kept messing up on Yes God Is Real.
So did was that video was that a official release or it was just a video that y'all did? Lord, he freezing up.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I said so. Was that an official release or was that just a video that y'all recorded?
That was just a release. I
Okay,
mean, that was just a video, and it was just a video, and I think I still have the masters to that too. Yep.
okay,
Mhm.
all right. So I know y'all did a lot of big shows back in the day. What was the biggest that you can remember being a part of?
Albany.
Wow.
Yeah, Albany was one of the biggest shows. Well, you know what? Albany, yeah, Albany. I say it was one of the biggest shows, but like Take It to the Bridge was good too because we would be the only quartet group, and
Mm,
we would be the only quartet group and the only group with a live band. And here again, when we would do those shows, Keith used to tell the sound man, make sure the keyboard everywhere. And because before we got Tyrone, it was like me, Hezzy, and Dewan, and and we didn't have no organ player or no no back then no guitar player until Tyrone came, you know but those shows was amazing, man. Um it was good, man.
I don't think y'all really even needed a organ player to be honest, because y'all was so full like I was from what I remember seeing on them videos and clips.
Well, I always would say yes, we needed help because, I always, by me singing and playing, I did what I could, but I always wanted that to stay competitive because all the different groups like Lee and you know, they would have organ and before Pete, well, after Pete was playing by himself, they had they had a keyboard player, they had Seaboard come and play. So, I would always kind of, you know, want it to be as full as we can get it because those guys had, they had full staff bands and they were so big, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I just wanted to always make sure that I was big, even, with if I could, because, it was just me.
Yeah, I got you. So after you stopped singing with the spiritual voices, what was your next endeavor?
Um, after I stopped singing with Keith, actually I had quit Keith one time, and I started playing the bass for Damon Little, and
Hmm?
because I had produced one of his records that we had did that how you gonna do right with a do wrong mind,
I
and
remember that.
so I went with Damon for about for a couple of probably about a year, if that, and I had to go back home to Keith, man. So, um, and and then from there, the rest was history with that. But then after I did Keith, I stopped playing for a while, and I think that's when I went back to my home church and I was the minister of music there,
Mm,
and then I started playing. Well, I was producing the Gospel Legends records, but I wasn't on the road with them. And then, the opportunity just came and, Alec asked me, hey man, I need a keyboard player, and I'll match your salary at your church. And and from there, man, the rest has been history from there, you know. So I haven't been with a lot of I haven't, been with too many artists like that, you know. Um but because I'm really big on, not a hopper,
right.
um, but I've toured and I've played with a lot of artists just sitting in, as needed, like Doc and just about any artist out there. I've sat in and had to step in the Cantons, you know. I played for the with the Cantons when Wallace was there. This is before Billy, Um, so like I say, man, those opportunities open up, man, and I don't, you know, I appreciate all of those opportunities.
Gotcha. I see Hezzy in the comment section. How was you able to keep him in line back in the day?
Well, I'll say, man, back then, man, we all was we just all was our own person, but man, we always kept each other in line, and I guess that's just how it's supposed to be, you know. He gonna always try to preach to you and stuff, and this and that and the third. But at the end of the day, we just made sure that we was our brother's keeper by keeping each other in line, you know, and and Hezzy just had that thing that no matter who you were, every night he's gonna give it 100 every night, you know, big or small, the crowd give it 100 every night, and that's what it's about. So with Hezzy, man, we was always keeping each other in line. Then the challenge was keeping the one in line. The one was the troublemaker. He was like that. He was like, man, you know, and but like I say, man, at some point we always kept each other in line. But that the one was the challenge. But you ain't asked me about the one, but I just had I just had to throw that in. But me and Hezzy, we kept each other in line.
Yeah, I can't get him to do right. What I need to do?
Well, I mean, you got to figure that out yourself, man. Look, we're a little older now, so man, it's you got to do much more than what we did. But
Man,
and Nan's gonna get to you. You need to respect your elders instead of trying to get us in line.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, the gospel legends. I know you were saying how you got with them. So, um, what year was that you officially joined?
man, I don't even remember, man. Um, I don't even remember what year that I joined the Legends full time, but I can say it's been over 10 years since I've been with the group, and but like I say, I don't even remember, man. I don't even remember what year, and that's probably sad of me, but I mean, I don't know if he listening or if he on. I'm pretty sure he can let me know, or his sister, she knows. She knows about everybody in the group when they got in and all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm not sure, man. I can't even think of it right now that you asked me. Probably if you want to ask me, I probably would have been able to tell you.
Now, I think the first time I seen you with them was it had to be 2015. That was the first time I remember seeing you. Might have been with them before then, but that was when I first seen you. I can't remember where it was. Might have been. It had to be in Georgia somewhere, but it was around about 2015 the first time I seen you, and that was 10 years ago. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay,
Man, time fly.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. It probably. I'm pretty sure I was with them before then. I just can't recall, um, but 2015, yeah, ain't no telling. Yeah.
yeah. So what do you have in the works these days? Like, what are you working on, and who are you producing?
Well, I'm working on the Ray Markable Volume 2 is geared to come out. I'm excited about that. And well, I'm excited about the different artists that's on there with new music. I'm actually in the studio with Luther Barnes. He's doing working on his new record. That's gonna be amazing. Um, I'm excited about the Brooklyn All Stars new record. Um, Definitely excited about the Soul Messengers we just recorded in DC, and I'm super excited about this new Gospel Legends record. That's geared to hit. As soon as it's gonna hit, it's gonna be amazing. And there's some other artists that I have, some up and coming artists as well. My godfather Teddy Cross, he's working on a new record. Um, and the McDonald sisters is working on some new stuff. Um, and And I mean, it's I have so much stuff that I'm working on I can't even remember. But man, I'm just excited to just still be able to do what I'm doing. It's 31 years this year that I've been doing and producing music, and and so like I say, man, I'm just grateful to even still be at it and doing it. And just being consistent. That's the main thing.
Right, consistent and relevant. Like you, cause you definitely are that. Cause I mean, you are the go-to guy for quartet. You know, everybody else. You know, there's some up-and-coming producers doing their thing, but ain't too many of them got hits like you. That's just being real.
Well, I keep it real with you. Since recording has came affordable, it makes people like myself have to work even much more harder to stay competitive because just about everybody have a laptop and a computer and a microphone in their bedroom or wherever and saying they have a studio. And some of them have some good stuff. And but just being competitive and like you say, I say you say being relevant, you know. I mean, I'm glad to still be able to do it and be relevant. That makes a difference.
Right. And I don't really have problems with a home studio, but it's nothing like an actual, brick and mortar building you can go to just record and release and just do different things of that nature. But I mean, if it worked for them, it works. But it's nothing like an actual physical building you can go to and work on music.
Yeah, my days of having studios at the house, that kind of got old quick because, back in the day it was like even being in the studio, you know, sometimes you just want that, you just need that, you know, that that situation when you're not working and doing music, that someone ain't coming to your house asking for a CD to be burnt that you recorded and whatnot, and so I'm just glad to be able to have a studio that people is they can be comfortable, and then and then they just have the freedom to do a record the way they need to be doing it instead of having a time frame because you're waking up the kids or neighbors are around.
Right.
I've been blessed when the studio was at my mother's house in the garage. I was just blessed that the neighbors never complained and called the cops. In fact, they always was just saying, you know, they would always ask, "Well, are you're not making any music? Because I haven't heard nothing in a while."
Hmm.
So it was always, I just always had the support of my community. That's why, I never forget the people that surrounded my mother's house because they never, had a problem with me making music, you know. And but now, it's just I just like for people to be comfortable when they come to the studio from the time they walk in. I just want them to be comfortable and and just be, just enjoy the experience of recording a record, the way it needs to be done.
Right. How did you build a working relationship with Malico?
Oh man, believe it or not, man, it's I did a record, man, with the Christian Angels, and matter of fact, they want to steal out the record, and actually that was my first record, that kind of like got me in the door of Malico, and and from that point on, I ended up doing a Luther Barnes record. Matter of fact, that was the another level record with the Sunset Jewelers, and then I was blessed to be able to record the late great Bishop F.C. Barnes' last record before he passed.
Mhm.
Um, and from that point on, I end up getting, end up strengthening a great working relationship with Daryl Luster, in which, you know, um, me and Daryl had, history from back then with Charles Johnson because he was one of the founders of Charles Johnson and Revivers.
Okay.
So, so Daryl, he had did a lot of producing records up under Frank Williams, and he was, one of the go-to guys for Malaco. So, when Malaco had artists on the East Coast that needed to be recorded, you know, Daryl made sure that they stopped by, and record at my studio, and from that point on, that's what, you know, started and strengthened my working relationship with Malaco, to they trusted and they still trust me with, with their artists, knowing that when I'm done, that it's spotless, and it's a great record, not just a great sounding record, but it's just a great record, period. So, um, but like I say, the run has been good, and I appreciate every moment and every opportunity, and but that's just how my working relationship started with Malaco.
Okay, I got you. What do you prefer, or what is your favorite recording? Do you like doing studio albums or live albums?
I don't have no particular which one is the best, because it really depends on the artist. There are some artists that are good live. There are some artists that are good, in the studio. And I guess it just depends on the artist. You know, Getting it done, how it gets done, I love it. I love it both ways. You know, um, but like I say, it really depends on the artist. But I love the live and the studio. Like I said, it really depends on the artist. But each one is my favorite way to do a record, just as long as it's done right.
Okay. Um, do you approach the process the same way when you're recording live in the or studio project? Do you have to have a kind of different thought process when you're doing the records?
Yeah, yeah. And here again, that goes into the different artists. The thought process can't be approached the same because, I aim to bring out the best in that artist, and not having each artist sounding the same. So to keep them who they are, even when they don't know who they are, to keep them different, is my approach has to be different with each artist because, some artists you may have a lead singer that can really sing, but probably don't have a great song. So, we just have to go through the song selection to make sure that they have the right songs, that fits them. And but at the same token, before I do anything, I try to make sure that I find out what's the vision for the record. What the artist thinking about, and where they're trying to go, what audience they're trying to reach. And then from there I can, look at the song selection and go from there. But like I said, it's different strokes for different folks, so it depends on the artist.
Gotcha. All right, we done been on here hour and 13 minutes, man. We're about to wrap it on up. Um, so if you have any, like, what would you tell your younger self with the mindset that you have now? If you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
uh is stay focused on your goal. When you want to, you know when people when people try to say things to discourage you, you know just use that as motivation. I use it as motivation. As now, some things happened a couple of days ago, and it really disappointed me and shocked me that, you know what I received. But it's like I use that as motivation, and just kind of tell myself that, if this is your assignment, stick to your assignment, because you don't want to God to get you by not following through with the assignment. And when people don't even understand your assignment, you just do what you're supposed to do. Just stick to the assignment. And now this is just a season for us to win. And I pray that everyone that's connected to me, that they win. And it's not even about It's not even a Ray thing and about Ray getting the recognition. If I can help you win, that's what makes me feel good and know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because I'm staying and sticking to the assignment that he's giving me.
But there you have it, folks. All right, Mr. Ray, we gonna get on out of here. I appreciate you for coming on, chopping it up with us tonight. And I
Man,
thank you for everything you've ever done for me, and all the wisdom, stuff you done given me, and I don't take none of it for granted.
man, I appreciate you, man, for having me, man, and just let me know who I send this bill to.
Hey, Senator Roy, he'll take care of it.
Oh, I know it ain't gonna get paid in.
All right, man. Well, we'll be hollering back at you.
All right, man. Good night, man.
All right, same to you.
Okay.
Ray Braswell Jr., ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Well, we've come down to the end of another great interview. Shout out to Mr. Ray for coming on. He is one of the most phenomenal keyboard players, musicians, and producers that the quartet genre has seen. Thank y'all for sharing the video, for being in the comment section. I seen all y'all. We come with another interview. Let me know who y'all want to see. I might try and get Hezzy on one of these days. I still see him in there. But y'all have a great night. We might come with another one next week. Just stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe to the Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we will be hollering at y'all later on. See you when we see you. Peace.